Time waits for no one, and neither does the Steam Deck. Since we last talked, Valve have managed to beat their initial targets for manufacturing of the Steam Deck, which means that there is a possibility of getting one before the holiday season. Should you buy one or spend your money elsewhere? I spent the past 6 months finding out. For starters, a quick recap of the story so far. I got my deck in April and I immediately fell in love with it. Playing games on PC for the majority of my life gave me the opportunity to get quite a sizable library, which, as the meme dictates, I have not played to its entirety. So, having a device that puts it in a comfortable and portable form factor, along with a price that feels more in line with its traditional competitors, it was a match made in heaven. The device is fairly high quality in the hand and has held up well. The controls feel just as good as they did day one, providing a comfortable gaming experience that feels easier to hold in the hand than the Switch does for me. The analog sticks are probably some of the nicest I've used, but as is tradition in the modern era, the D-pad is a bit mushy. Not the worst in recent years, but not the best either. 2 trackpads flank the screen, which, after getting a little bit of practice in, are now second nature. Seriously, this thing single-handedly rekindled my Civ 5 addiction, which I did not need, quite frankly. The bumpers and triggers on top are also pretty good, especially for a handheld. They did a great job of designing an analog trigger that's got enough travel to be useful, but not so much as to make the device too thick. And that's just the thing. The device is still surprisingly thin. Wide, but thin. Speaking of wide, that subscribe button, that's the only way they fit all them letters in there. Go and take a look for yourself. In some places it's red, in some it's black. Either way, while you're down there, want to give it a little click or tap. We definitely appreciate it. Thank you. Now, one thing I did praise in the original video was the extra buttons on the back. I'm afraid to report that actually I haven't really used them that much. They're definitely cool for customization if you need it, but they're a little awkward for me. Sorry, but what I'm not sorry for actually is external controller support. Valve have done a fantastic job of getting as many third-party controllers working with the system as is possible, and also providing the tools for developers to be able to tailor their games so that if you use a PlayStation DualSense or a Switch Joy-Con, it just works. You can even mix and match, so if you're having a game night, your friends can bring their own controllers and they just work. You can even mix wired and wireless too if you're feeling particularly adventurous. As for games, as long as you're staying away from multiplayer games that use weird anti-cheat, there's actually a lot to enjoy here. Obviously, some games aren't designed for a screen this small, and no keyboard and no mouse, but Steam has a handy way for you to be able to assess whether or not a game will be good for the deck in the form of the Steam Verified program. Just look out for the labels on the games with a short write-up on how the game got on during Valve's testing. Quite a few games in my library that do say they won't work actually do, which was a nice surprise, but I've yet to see a game that says it does work, but doesn't. The hardware inside this is not too dissimilar to what you might find in a decent laptop, so set expectations slightly, as you definitely won't be running the latest AAA titles at max settings, but you know, maybe medium settings will do. This has been a bit of a sticking point for people who are used to consoles for playing games, that there is this need to tinker, and although it would be a lie to say that you'll never have to delve in the game settings to get it just right, it's a lot easier than it ever used to be. Some will do it automatically, some will give you presets to choose from, and for the rest, there are easily accessible resources. And that's something I think I have to point out. The community support surrounding PC gaming has always been fantastic. If you need something, chances are the resources are already out there, just a search away. But PC gaming is at its most accessible it's ever been. Steam alone has made PC gaming almost as easy as console gaming. Of course, publishers will try their hardest to make it difficult, but I remember the days of installing multiple discs, finding serial numbers, this spinning disc thing. Now it's just click, install, play. But I won't give any recommendations for game-to-game settings, but I will point out that you can set frame rate limits and tweak some of the hardware settings to make the deck use less power. This is handy for perhaps story-driven games where high frame rates aren't a priority, but you would enjoy having longer battery life. You can also set these options on a per game basis now as well as globally. Plus, the screen's refresh rate can be forced to be lower now too. It goes as low as 40Hz, which is pretty good actually. Definitely not as smooth as 60, but it's easier on the eyes than 30. Here's an example so you can see the difference. While we're on the subject of graphics, let's talk about my biggest gripe with the system. The screen. Let me get something clear. It's a good screen. It's clear and easy to read, but it's not as bright as I'd like a portable console to be, which makes it hard to see in my garden. Wait, this isn't my garden. On another note, the colours are in a weird place. They're not washed out per se, but it's clear that black isn't exactly black and white isn't exactly white. It's more dark grey, light grey. I'd put it somewhere between the original Switch display and the Switch OLED display, so it's good, but it could be better. Just a slightly nicer screen would be appreciated, but I also understand that Valve had a price target they wanted to hit, and as far as I'm aware, the margins aren't that big. As for how it responds to touch, it's fine, apart from with the keyboard. That struggles a bit. I prefer using the trackpads for that instead, but you poke at things and they happen. But you know what is great already? The speakers. Holy moly. Okay, so they're not going to be winning any awards for accuracy, but for clarity. Wow.
Let's just go in. Mr. Johnson, are you here?
Hey there. It's me, Cave Johnson.
I'm sure that the experience they had creating the over-ear speakers for the Valve Index really helped here, but it genuinely was the first thing that surprised me. This has been brilliant for dialogue-heavy games where things are just so clear. Usually I would have popped on a pair of headphones, but I can sit here and hear clearly, even next to this spooky open window.
Oh my god, it's the fuzz, what the hell?
Stereo separation is also fairly decent too when held at a reasonable distance from your face. Left and right, left, right. Ooh! This would be a good time to mention that there is a desktop mode with a full GUI and its own app store for downloading desktop applications on the Steam Deck. So you can download an emulator, edit a video, stream your gameplay, do your taxes, hold a party, and yes, even Reversi. Okay, you know what? I don't know how Reversi works. I thought it'd be a joke, like, what? Am I winning? I think I'm winning. If an application isn't in the store, you might have a little bit of trouble installing it since Valve has disabled writing to the user folder. It's not impossible to install a program, but it's a little more challenging, and even if you are successful, software updates can wipe that folder clean, so beware. I go more into what this means and why it might actually be a good thing in this video here, where I use the Steam Deck as my only computer for a week. The Steam Deck does have Bluetooth built in, so you can connect controllers and headphones this way. Latency was low and quality was decent. I still prefer a wired connection for obvious reasons, but for convenience it's actually really quite good. Anyway, let's get to the conclusion, shall we? Yes, you should buy one if you're looking for a handheld console and aren't interested in Switch exclusives. For a little bit more than a Switch OLED, you get a more powerful and customizable machine, which is a beast for indie games, as a lot of them tend to get first releases on PC before migrating to other platforms, as well as excelling with single-player third-party titles. However, if you really want to play games that are exclusive to the Nintendo Switch, and don't care for taking third-party titles on the go, then the Switch might be a better option for you.
Work.
Plus, if you want to dabble in visiting gaming years gone by, you can go down the emulation route if you so wish, but PC gaming has a rich and diverse history of its own, and a lot of it is worth visiting. Look, here is the PC version of the hit PS1 platformer Croc, running natively on the Steam Deck, and here is the PS1 version of the hit PC platformer Croc, being emulated on the Steam Deck. And sorry, why not, here it is on the Saturn II, yeah? What a time to be alive, gamers. This isn't to say anything about young people though. If you have kids of your own and they see Mario as lame, is this a viable alternative? Well, it's got Apex Legends, Among Us, and a wide range of great younger focused games. A lot of the Sonic back catalogue is on there. Temtem is a surprisingly deep monster collecting game that recently came out of early access, and I've been enjoying, and perhaps even preferring over the Big P. Stardew Valley is a great life sim where you inherit a farm from your grandfather, and it has an interactive story. Also a massive shout out to the Spyro Reignited trilogy, which I'm enough of an adult to say that this is up there as one of my favourite games for sure. Top 20. It's up there, and it looks great, plays great, and just is great. Check it out. If you're worried about your children potentially finding content that may be unsuitable for them, then don't worry. Not only does Steam provide parental controls, it also allows you to create an account for your child and then share games from your library with them. I'm going to admit that this is something my friends and I have been doing since this feature was launched, and it's been great to say, hey, have you played this game? Well, it's in my library. Go ahead and download it. You can share with up to 10 different devices and with up to 5 different accounts. I'll link the Steam pages on how to do this below. As for the rest of you, I'd urge you to go and have a look on ProtonDB to see what games do and don't work well on the Steam Deck. ProtonDB is a community effort to evaluate the entirety of the Steam library, to see not just how well it works on Linux as a whole, but also on the Steam Deck, as well as what you can do to get those tricky games to work. Often it's as simple as changing a setting here or there, or downloading a custom version of Steam Play Compatibility Tool, also known as Proton. If you have any questions about the deck, feel free to leave them below, and I'll answer them the best I can. That's it for now. I really hope you enjoyed the video, and why not leave us a like and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date. We'd really appreciate it if you did. Bye bye!